Within a Chaotic World, Part 2. Addressing consciously anxiousness and anxiety, finding the compass in our heart. Practical steps to shift from anxiety to calm. So this is a little talking about what we're being vulnerable in talks of a story. Now, recently I flew to New Jersey and I've had a little tendency for claustrophobia. So these are steps that I took that might relate to your experience, but I want to just share this. So it may be helpful for you when you're in a certain situation where you feel anxiety. Okay. So uprighting yourself and breathe through your heart. So as this process moved along, I did feel a sense of spaciousness eventually, but I recognized I had to breathe. I had to upright myself and breathe through my heart. And as I did that, and I held steady in that, and I breathed some more, in slow, out slower through my heart, I let the anxious feelings be. And I continued to breathe. I was present. Now, there's something called unified mindfulness, which gets into what you see, what you hear, and what you feel. And if you can focus in the present moment in terms of what you're seeing, hearing, and feeling, it brings you into the present moment. And in the present moment, if we can be present, it allows you, say, for the universal forces to actually reconnect with, you can say, our physical soul, physical being. So I have had some training in that, and I took note of that. I just started seeing. What did I see? I saw people in front of me. I saw the wall in front of me, the first-class wall in front of me. I felt what I was feeling. I just felt it, and I just let it be. I was simply present, and I let. I let what matters expand and what doesn't dissipate. And I was telling some of my friends, I had the window seat, which I love looking out the window, but there was two guys sitting next to me and the two other seats, and these guys are big guys. So there's nowhere for me to go. So I said, okay, there's nowhere for me to go. So I'm just going to keep breathing, and seeing and feeling. So I let that happen. And then I uprighted myself, breathed, and then I oriented to what I loved. And one thing I love is looking at the ground, looking at the ground from the plane there, seeing the Appalachian Mountains as I passed through those there, and just seeing like loads of houses. And I could fire it up when I see just populations of people who said, wow, just to be able to touch the influences, you can say, just looking out and seeing what's, the world beneath me and having an influence from that perspective. So orienting to what I love. And then sure enough, as that passed through, I felt a sense of spaciousness, even with these two guys sitting next to me, and I was fine for the rest of the flight. That was my personal experience. And maybe there's something that I just shared with you that may be helpful for you when you are in an anxious state to find your calm. A matter of perspective. Now, being in New Jersey, I was with my brother and we took a walk in this park. It's called Heritage Park in Cranberry, New Jersey. And it was so relaxing to be in this park. I mean, just that picture alone might give you a little bit of perspective of that, but it allowed for just a total relaxation while I was in New Jersey visiting family and friends and taking a walk there. But looking at a matter of perspective related to anxiety and fear, an unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by anticipation or awareness of danger. Excitement, a feeling of great enthusiasm and eagerness, exhilaration, elation. So Carly Simon, who stopped performing because of her performance anxiety, and Bruce Springsteen, who loves performing because of the excitement it gives him. So when they were asked for details, both described the exact physical experience: butterflies in the stomach, tingling sensation, rapid heartbeat, sweaty palms. So you look at it equating the anxiety of fear with the excitement of joy. Now, some of you may have heard of that thought before, but just to emphasize it here, that when we feel anxious, like if we can begin to see an excitement of joy. For me, it was the excitement of joy of seeing my family and seeing my friends in New Jersey there, that allowed for the dissipation of the feeling of anxiety of fear. So just consider that for yourself. That you can equate the anxiety of fear with the excitement of joy. And especially with Bruce Springsteen being from New Jersey, I can relate to that. Our perspective depends on our perception of our response patterns. Our perspective depends on our perception of our response patterns. It's not what you feel, but how you respond. I'm sure a few of you, if not all of you, have heard of that before. Recognize that past experiences do not dictate future experiences. So there's something that we've been made aware of in our conscious leadership class with Chris, that your brain is hardwired in the past. It's stuck in the past. Your brain is actually stuck in the past. It's hardwired. It's conditioned that way. So your mind, the software of your brain, is to update to the present. So we recognize the patterns. They talk about maps we've had. The experiences we've had in the past lays down maps, grooves in our subconsciousness, at least, that actually sets the pattern to actually be wired for past, you can say, reactions, past responses there. But our mind is actually in the present to update to the present, because all things that we may have had in the past that no longer belong, that trigger us, that if we can recognize those things and begin to change them, it begins to hardwire our brain in a different way, sets the grooves in a healthier way, in a more, you can say, well-being way. It takes something in that respect. So the necessity of changing our response patterns. So let's look at this, the necessity of changing our response patterns. Changing response patterns. Let what matters expand of your higher real self. I think most of you can relate to that, our higher real self. Our real self is actually our higher self. And let what doesn't dissipate, the worldly unreal self. So that worldly unreal self is, again, things that we've been conditioned with, most likely from the time we were born to the time we were 7 years old, where things have actually been grooved in that respect. And it might set some patterns that weren't actually ideal, that actually caused certain worldly influences that dictate our experience. So we want to shift those things. And this is where changing the hardwiring of our brain comes in, mentally speaking. So instead of defaulting to fear, letting that dissipate, or recognizing when it comes up, and then responding to what you love. Now, one thing about changing our hardwiring, we really can't do it only with our mind. Actually, centrally, we have to do it with our heart. And that's where HeartMath comes in. We have to more feel into it than think into it. So responding to what you love. And in my HeartMath sessions, I always encourage folks to consider things that make you smile, where you feel it, not just think about it. Focus on what you can do, and focusing on what I couldn't do. So again, what I couldn't do was really get out from where I was sitting in the plane, but what I could do, I had some notes and I had some things that I like to read, that I started reading. I started looking out the window. So I focused on what I could do in that moment. Acknowledge your identity in love. To me, I think in the essence, for all of us, really, we all spring from the essence of an aspect of love. So acknowledging our identity in that respect, that's our higher, real, true self. And then identifying with fear and shame, letting that dissipate. Instead of saying, I am fearful, I am shameful, like being careful to not to identify with that. We might feel fearful or shameful, but we don't identify that. We can say the truth of love. Let go to what's presently real and true, letting the hold of the past hold sway. So we let that dissipate, letting the hold of the past hold sway, letting go to what's presently real and true. Coming to focus in our life, letting the multiple pulls dissipate. When we're spread in various directions, we can recognize certain things have to go. And then finding your conscious flow state. And this is where I emphasize in a lot of my sessions there, how important it is to find your conscious flow state, to really allow for an experience of your higher real self. So let's look at that some more again. So observing, calibrating, and experiencing your conscious flow state. Again, looking at activity and rest. Really, what I see is we need to find a flow state between activity and rest. And as we do, and experience of that, we have a sense of well-being, but it takes practice to stay in that flow state. And when we recognize when we're overamped, what it takes to get back to a flow state presence, it's almost like tuning a guitar string, where overamped, just dial it back a little bit. And if we're underamped, again, if we're eating too much or watching too much TV, I've used that example there, we feel underamped, we see what it takes to get back into the flow state. And it all springs from our heart, and it springs from the compass of our heart. Our last session, that kind of triggered me in terms of, okay, how can we explore more about finding the compass of our heart? And this is where we'll look at compass, just to spell it out, a compass. And most of us know what a compass is, but just to spell it out, a tool for finding direction. Values are like a compass. We use them to choose the direction in which we want to move and to keep us on track as we go. So looking at values in this respect. So there is an inventory coming to a clear place. So the next few lines here, sentences, is an inventory of our own self, of coming to a clear place, and how we answer these questions relate to that. So we'll take this one by one, and you can just consider it for yourself and see how it applies. Where are your primary values? Does the physical condition of your own body loom large to you? Do your material circumstances trouble you? Is your security found in money or position? Are you easily hurt by what other people say or do? Are you quick to leap to your own defense? Do you feel that others should treat you differently or love you more? Does resentment, anger, or fear dominate your attitude and actions at times? I think for most of us, I think, a lot of us have come to a greater clear place, but some of these might be under the surface at times that we might have to watch for ourselves. Do you hate anyone? And to the degree you say yes to any of the above, then to this extent, your primary values are in the unreal state, and you're identified with an unclear, false self. So let's consider that. And this is from actually a little book called As of a Trumpet by Martin Exeter. So just a little self-inventory to consider, to go deeper and to see if these things do still apply. But where are our primary values? So think about where our primary values are the presence of the real state. And that relates to things like patience, peace, gratitude, assurance, service, wisdom, and the integrity of love. Primary values, to orient to these. When things come up of the old, we orient to these. We let the old dissipate, and we let these magnify or expand in and through us. Okay, why should I know my primary values? Of course, to serve as guideposts through your life, through our lives. Life story unfoldment, or the compass. What direction do we take? Sometimes if we don't have that compass, we might take the direction that's a little bit darker rather than the lighter path. So let's look at this Annunciation moment. Now, this is from a book from Quotations from the Second Mountain by David Brooks. And David wrote this book, The Second Mountain, for individuals actually who are getting older and realized that their work in their life wasn't so much important anymore as much as a sense of purpose. And that's what he related to in terms of the second mountain. So Annunciation moments relates to a little story about Albert Einstein. But Annunciation moments are aesthetic, going about life in its normal course, and then suddenly beauty strikes. Some sight or experience renders us dumb with wonder. The Greek word for beauty was kalon, which is related to the word call. Beauty incites a desire to explore something and to live within it. One day, when he was 4 or 5, Albert Einstein had to stay home sick. His father bought him a compass. The sight of it, with the magnetic needle swinging about under the influence of a hidden force field, made him tremble. I can still remember, at least, I believe I can remember, that this experience made a deep and lasting impression on me. Something deeply hidden had to be behind things, he later wrote. He became obsessed with hidden forces, magnetic fields, gravity, inertia, acceleration. As one biographer put it, music, nature, and God became intermingled in him in a complex of feeling, a moral unity, the trace of which never vanished. Sometimes a good story to tell of Einstein to make an example for each of us, like what struck us, those moments of beauty. So alignment with what matters. The Greek word for beauty was kalon, which is related to the word call. Beauty incites a desire to explore something and live within it. What call do you hear? Let's personally consider. Grab some paper and something to write with. Think of the most meaningful moments in your life. What made them meaningful to you? What call do you hear? Okay, take a moment to consider that. And sometimes it is helpful to actually write your thoughts down. So let's take a few minutes to consider. Think of the most meaningful moments in your life. What made them meaningful to you? What call do you hear? So for tonight, finding your calm debrief, we looked at practical steps to shift from anxiety to calm. I shared my story there. Hopefully it was helpful for you. A matter of perspective, equating anxiety with excitement, the excitement of joy. Changing our response patterns takes practice. It takes practice to change that hard wiring we may have had from our past. And we have a mental and emotional, a heart responsibility to shift into present time patterns that are appropriate for now and well-being for now, for ourselves and for the world. Letting what matters expand and what doesn't dissipate. So there's something called equanimity, where we recognize that the things that do matter, we let that expand. And then we kind of disentangle our response to what doesn't, and we let that dissipate. Finding the compass in our heart, acknowledging our primary values that bring direction. Hearing your call step by step. So we may not hear all of our call for what we need to do a year from now or 2 years from now, but when we hear a call, the present day, what call are we responding to in the present day? And then as we listen to that call, it brings a sense of calm. It brings us a sense of place, as Jim was saying, emphasizing that when you're in place, or when Alan was saying, when you hear that beautiful call and you respond to that, you feel alive, you feel present. So let me just share my call and these conscious healthy aging programs. I composed a book called Healing Verses of the Psalms. And this was a drawing that Robert Kaufman had done for the book. And it's a Psalm 71. Now, also, when I'm old, maybe we don't may use that term so much, but old and gray-headed, I have gray hair. Some of you do too. O God, forsake me not until I've showed thy strength unto this generation, thy power to everyone that is to come. So part of the reason for this conscious healthy aging program is to actually galvanize us as elders. So we recognize and acknowledge the influence we can extend, especially to the younger populations, but also to the world in general. We've had a lot of life experience. When we begin to see what more and more what matters and what doesn't, as we come into place like that together, then we offer a sound influence to the younger generations, to the older generations, and letting that power extend for generations to come. Because we said something in seed form, maybe, that goes beyond the time of our lives here and now on Earth, but we're leaving you can say a vibrational legacy in that respect. Okay. So that's part of the reason the call that I've heard with this program. So bringing it all together, meditation. So let's just take a moment to kind of like let things digest within our hearts here. So maybe we can just upright ourselves again. If you're comfortable putting your hands over your heart and breathing in slowly again, breathing in slow. Imagine breathing in through your heart, feeling through your heart, and then breathing out slower through your heart. We get into the rhythm of that, breathing in slow and out slower. And as we do that, again, we affirm something deep within our hearts. And if our hardwiring is ever to change, it has to first change in our heart. And our mind has to be able to protect our hearts to be in position to allow for the changes to be received. You can say from above, down, inside out. As we breathe that, breathing that awareness, that however we can sense it, however little or however much we can sense something greater looking to come through us, breathing that in and breathing it out. Letting an influence of soundness, saneness, joy, peace, harmony extend into the world. All for the sake of you can say, collective raising up of humanity and transformative changes occurring. And knowing and feeling the possibility of that through ourselves together. Breathing in and breathing out. So we give thanks for this time, and however realizations may have come across, and however realizations that may unfold as we continue from this point, as we allow our consciousness to be open to what is real and true of ourselves, looking to find expression into the earth. So breathe once more, breathing in slow, and out slower. Okay. And then we have one more slide, a couple more slides here. So implementation and follow through. Okay, so for this upcoming time, make response changes that enhance your feeling of calm. So see what it takes. What response changes do you need to make or catch yourself with and begin to change for a greater sensing of calm, for a greater influence to extend through you of calm. Appreciate your successes, establishing response patterns that bring calm. What matters most. So this is the gift that I mentioned in the email I sent out. So if you take note of this, bit.ly, bit.ly, What Matters Most Compass is actually a program I put together. It's a self-study program, and this is a link for access to that there. So if you want to take note of that, again, bit.ly, bit.ly / What Matters Most Compass, and you'll be able to access that program. Okay, invitation to continue with Conscious Healthy Aging program. So if something inspired you, what we shared tonight, this platform includes Conscious Healthy Aging core content, so you can acclimate to staying well as you age. So my past year and a half of sessions are on that in order, in an organized way, you can have access to. Essentials for Well-Being core content, so you can affirm the essentials of well-being. This, I did a general class for well-being content that's included in this platform. Past and ongoing content to continue the way of staying well as you age. These live interactive sessions to elevate your well-being experience with others. And recently I've been opening up to all of us and to the public, so folks can touch into this and look to see if they like to continue it more in a collective way together. A communication platform to interrelate and support one another between live sessions. And to learn more and to engage, go here. So my name, Dr. Steve, drsteveventola.com / Vitality Group membership. Okay, and if you want to know more about that, have a conversation about it, or if you want to engage with some specific one-to-one care, feel free to give me a call or contact me. So next session, now this is exciting. Next session, the joint session, and some of those on the line tonight together are participating, as well as myself, from the Peace, Harmony, and Joy Alliance. So our next session will be in October, entitled Finding Your Peace, Doing the Inner Work. Tuesday, October 2nd, from 7 to 8:30. I look forward to this collective time, and we'll look forward to sharing this with others. And you may want to take note of this link, bit.ly, bit.ly / Doing the Inner Work. So if you take note of that link, you can register even now for it, or you can share that with your friends. We'll have some more email and about the program, but I look forward to actually having the honor to facilitate this event, this joint event between our Conscious Healthy Aging program and the Peace, Harmony, and Joy Alliance.